All right, it looks like we have a little bit of movement on the Nintendo Switch 2 front, just because I haven't been reporting on a lot of this different stuff because there's been a lot of fake rumors and leaks and this and that, and most of it is just BS, people just looking for clout. But I do think this might have a little bit of traction because one, Bloomberg is reporting on it, and two, it also comes from a pretty credible analyst out there. So according to Omidia analyst Hiroshi Hayase, he has stated that Nintendo will launch a new Nintendo console, Nintendo Switch-like console device with an 8-inch LCD screen this year, 2024, it's coming out. Now, that has kind of caused a little bit of a spark online. I see that OLED is trending because some people are upset in the Wario64 post. I'll have Wario64's Twitter account. You can look at it, link in the description below. People are complaining about that it's not OLED, that it has to be, and all of this and that, just because Nintendo had an OLED Nintendo Switch. OLED's awesome. I have an OLED TV. I have an OLED Nintendo Switch. OLED is incredible technology. So obviously going back, if this was the case, because we're not going to sit here and act like this is 100% or it's definitive or Nintendo won't have another model or there won't be a more expensive one or there won't be something down the line. We're not going to sit there and act like that like it's 100%, but I understand where people are coming from, especially if you have a Steam Deck OLED or if you have a Nintendo Switch OLED. Those are really nice. Or if you have an OLED TV and you just want to have that anywhere that you go. So I 100% agree that it would be upsetting a bit if they didn't have that OLED right there. But I do think at the same time, if the system is good and it's way stronger than the Nintendo Switch and it offers more features and capabilities, people aren't going to care because the new Mario game is going to be on there and it's going to be lit and fun and it's going to be better than your Nintendo Switch and it's going to run games at better frame rates, and there's going to be some games that aren't going to be on the Nintendo Switch that are going to be on this new thing. So yes, I do think that people will get over that pretty quickly. Plus OLED TVs are becoming far more common for people to pick up for good prices. So I do think that that can help mitigate the oof a bit when it comes to not having an OLED screen, if this does turn out to be true. But once again, we're gonna have to wait and see. It's not definitive. It's an analyst saying this. He has gotten some things before. He's obviously a credible analyst. That's why Bloomberg is picking it up, and that's why people are kind of reporting on that, because there has been a lot of like rumors that are just going out there, and everyone's not reporting on everything that everyone's saying, but I do think that this might be a bit more credible. Now, this is the second or third time that we have heard that they're going to go to LCD just to probably save costs, because this thing's probably going to be $399.99. So it's going to be $400. So obviously, if you put an OLED in there with a bigger screen, that's going to jump the price up more. LCD is cheaper technology, so I'm guessing they're going to wait till the parts are cheaper and then put out an enhanced OLED model in the next year or so, 2 years, probably 2 to 3 years. They'll probably put out an OLED model, maybe even a Pro model with an OLED. There's lots of options available to Nintendo for that one. So I wanted to get you guys that. Once again, don't take it as it's 100% fact that it's going to happen. People are also confused sometimes when they see like Japanese names. They think that, oh, it's associated with Nintendo. I actually had somebody come to my stream, rush to my stream and tell me Nintendo announced this. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I looked at it and I think that he just got confused because it was a Japanese name and he thought that it was somebody at Nintendo. So also keep in mind that it's just an analyst, okay? It's not anything yet. Nintendo's probably going to announce their new system this year, but it's not going to be through Wario64. You're going to see it on their official page, Twitter, or a video or something. They're going to have it on their official stuff, so just keep that in mind. Now, people will report on it themselves, but you'll be able to trace it back to the source of Nintendo. So just keep that in mind, guys, when we talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 watch and all of that. Now, speaking of Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo, let's talk about the Pokemon Company and what's going on after Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now, I will admit that I was wrong initially. I thought that they were going to do some more patches to help with the frame rate and other things, and they ultimately didn't really do that. There might have been some stuff, little things here and there in some areas, but for the most part, it's pretty much been the same. Now, they did clean up a lot of the bugs and glitches, visual issues. There's still probably some in there, but I didn't encounter anywhere near as much from when I first played the game compared to when I played it recently with the DLC and all of that, and just like the regular base game. I went through all of that, and it's still interesting. It's an interesting game because I do think that because the Pokemon Company has a game like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that sold 23 million units, people will look at that and say, oh my gosh, they don't have to do anything. They just sold really well. But I think at the same time, if you're a business like the Pokemon Company, you're probably thinking, man, 23 million people bought that. If it was better, because the backlash was huge. And we're going to talk about this because a very credible source has talked about what the Pokemon Company is saying. But if you're the Pokemon Company, you're probably thinking, man, if we actually had this game cleaned up and it didn't get so much backlash, we probably could have outsold the original Pokemon games on the Game Boy. We probably could have sold 30-something million plus. Everything was set up with the Nintendo Switch to get that done as the third major Pokemon game in terms of new titles, if you don't count like Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, Let's Go, and all that. But in terms of everything with the install base and with the open world, everything was set up for this game to be the best-selling Pokemon game of all time, and it's definitely lagging a bit behind when it comes to Pokemon Red and Blue. Obviously, Pokemon Sword and Shield, it's a bit behind those. I mean, it might pass it up ultimately at the end of the day, especially if they do an Ultra or Deluxe version or a Switch 2 version of it, which there are rumors that are pretty much credible, that are somewhat credible because they nailed Pokemon before they announced them in the rumors, which I have a video on that. You can go check it out. I'll have a link for you guys in the description. But yeah, so there is that, but I think that they probably felt that they could have sold way more copies of this game, and I agree, it could have done way better, but the performance of the game just isn't acceptable for many people out there, and you're not going to sell the game like crazy or even after the initial rush if you can't really fix it up and get it to where it needs to get to. So that's the problem. Now, let's get into the solution potentially here. Now let's talk about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and what Andy Robinson had to say on Twitter. Now he was responding to a tweet from someone else talking about how, like, if they can just look at the games and make it better, if they can just make a good Pokemon game, is this so hard to ask for? So Andy did quote tweet that, which I do respect Andy. I think that Andy from VGC, he has good sources. This guy's been spot on many different things, so I'll definitely take his word that he heard this. Now, whether Pokemon Company does it, that's a whole nother thing that you guys are probably going to be arguing back and forth and discuss, because many people don't believe them after the efforts that they had on the Nintendo Switch with the last few Pokemon games, especially with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now, this is what Andy had to say. From what I've heard, the Pokemon Company has taken the response to Scarlet and Violet seriously and is acting on it for future production. Now, that's something that they also said as well, kind of like low-key they kind of said that, but at the same time, like, this is the first time that somebody outside of the Pokemon Company, like a journalist or somebody, has also heard that and said, hey, in the next game, they're looking into that. Now, it would be awesome if they can fix that for this game, because the Switch still has overhead room for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to be better. So I'm not sure if it has spaghetti code or if there's problems overall, because they did do a lot of patching when it comes to the bugs and the glitches. So I'm not sure what's going on there, or if they have to hire a bit more, or if they have to do something to get things better for the next one. But they can't have a Pokemon Scarlet and Violet situation with the next Pokemon game, whatever it ends up being. Now, there's a lot of people that are talking about Power World and how that's affecting everything, and now they have to do this, and I think that really Scarlet and Violet should be enough, and I think that was because they should have made way more. People say, yeah, 23 million, but I'm telling you guys, they probably wanted to outsell. I think that they maybe had internal projections. Now, this is just conjecture, this is just me guessing, but they probably had internal projections that this game, Scarlet and Violet, the first ever true open world Pokemon game with this amount of Pokemon and raid battles and all this cool stuff that's in the game. I played the game, I played it all the way through completion, I played the DLC. This game has some really cool and great things, but the performance is so bad. If that was better, they're probably thinking this game can sell 30-something, 40 million units. Remember, guys, Animal Crossing is selling more than Pokemon at this point. You have games like Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, that's selling more than Pokemon. You have Mario Kart that's selling more. Pokemon used to be at the top of the top when it comes to Nintendo, and now it's still at the top, but there's other franchises like Super Smash Brothers that has outsold Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and other Pokemon games. So these games never used to outsell Pokemon. Pokemon used to always be right there at the top when it comes down to it, and it's not. So I think that they felt if they actually ran better and everything, they could have probably sold way more. So I think that's all the motivation that they're going to need, because if they do this again, I mean, those sales are going to dip for whatever they do next. So we'll see what happens. I'm still kind of 50-50 on it. They did a good job of patching bugs, but it needs to go further beyond that, especially with how Pokemon Scarlet and Violet turned out. So let's see what happens in the future. Now, moving on about the future, let's talk about something that's coming up next month as of the time that I'm recording this video, and that's Splatoon 3 Side Order. We've got a official confirmed release date for this. Now, they said spring originally. Well, surprise, it's a bit sooner. February 22nd is the day. We've got some new art that you guys are seeing as well, a little teaser trailer, and I'm really looking forward to this because it looks like it's going to be something that you can consistently play before they move on to the next thing. I think that support for Splatoon is obviously going to continue, but they're kind of wrapping things up. That's kind of how it was with Splatoon 2 with the Octo expansion and all of that. They're kind of wrapping things up and getting it ready probably for the next Splatoon game, Splatoon 4, on the Nintendo Switch 2, and doing a different thing. I think that Splatoon 4 is going to be more of a reinvention of the franchise. The first, the second, the third game, they're kind of all in line, and don't get me wrong, it's going to be Splatoon, but I think they're going to really increase the team size. They're going to add in a bunch of new modes. It's going to be a different style of Splatoon. Same kind of fit and same kind of freshness that Splatoon has and the structure, but they're going to do a lot of different things. So I think this really signifies, okay, they're kind of rolling down on that support, because think about it, with Splatoon 3, the side order, they said that you're going to be able to replay this over and over. So they want something that you can just keep on playing and giving you fun even after they're kind of like, all right, we're done with it. Now, Nintendo usually supports Splatoon for a couple of years or so with content and everything, and then after that, it's kind of like, all right, well, we've got our big support that's out and all the updates and everything in the game is how the game is. And this is going to be the 2-year anniversary of Splatoon, right? Splatoon, it came out back in 2022, so this is going to be the 2-year anniversary of it later this year. So I think really they're going to kind of roll down that, and then of course you're going to have the next gen Nintendo system. Obviously they're going to want to have a Splatoon game ready for that as well, so I think that they're really kind of working towards that. But this Splatoon 3 side order is coming out sooner than expected. Some people thought maybe it would be like March, April, May, somewhere in that range, but it's actually sooner. So I'm excited because there's going to be some like RPG elements in this. You've got a bunch of equipment slots and all this different type of stuff that's going on there. You got damage numbers popping up. I like what I'm seeing here, going up a tower, maybe like a rogue mode type of thing. So I like it. I like it. I think that it's a good mode just because, so you can play it over and over in single player. You don't have to worry about it being multiplayer or going online and stuff like that. You can just play it yourself. So I like what they're doing here. Now let's move on to something else that I like a lot. And Nintendo of America posted this, and this is pretty cool. It says to mark your calendars for this special The Legend of Zelda #Orchestra concert. Visit our official YouTube channel on February 9th to watch the full pre-recorded performance. So it's going on at 5 a.m. PT. That it's 8 a.m. Eastern time. So it's very early where I'm at. So that's going to be a little bit rough for me, but I will be waking up bright and early to stream for you guys, and we can all listen to the concert ourselves and talk about The Legend of Zelda, talk about what we love, what we think could happen. So I will have a stream beforehand, probably like 4 a.m. will start up my time, and we'll talk about everything when it comes to Legend of Zelda in the future and what we think, and then we'll all listen to the orchestra. Now, this was supposed to be because there was supposed to be like the Nintendo Live in Japan, but it got canceled because of the threats that were happening to the staff and everything. So they just canceled the whole event because they take the threats and the staffing seriously at most companies, but especially at Nintendo. So they're doing this instead. So this is a nice little makeup for that, and really it's pre-recorded, so you can't really threaten anybody at this point. So I like the fact that they're doing this. I think it's going to be a fun event. It's something that we don't get very often and people don't get to see live, so it's cool that we're all going to be able to enjoy it, you know, within our comfort of our homes and stuff like that. And we can all share the Zelda music and stuff and memories and all that. So I am down. I am ready. I'm looking forward to this one. Now, the last piece of news that I wanted to get into, because I don't talk about this game very often, but I think this is very good, and that is F099. There is a brand new update that went live a little bit ago, and it adds really cool stuff to it. We're going to go down what it adds, and I like this. So it adds private lobbies. That is really good. So you can just play with the homies, right? Private lobbies, to utilize them, select the game mode, set a 4-digit passcode, then join the lobby. Bam. Players with matching game codes and passcodes can meet in the same lobby to race. Now, that was one of the problems that people had. It's like, hey, it's just 99 people. I can't really race with my friends. It's kind of scattered all over the place. Well, now you can get that done. Now, private lobby race results are not reflected in leaderboard points, records, or challenge progress. Also, you will receive less experience and fewer ticket points than in regular races, so people don't try to cheat or game the system to get all the rewards and all that. So 100% understand from that standpoint, and it's pretty cool. It took them a lot less time to add the private lobbies compared to like what, you know, other games have done when it comes to Nintendo. So it's good that they got this in there at this point, not too long after the game came out. And they also have secret tracks that have been added. These will occasionally appear in F099, so nice little secrets for people that consistently play. Get a secret track that plays and see what happens there. Also, the maximum skill level and skill rating for players have increased. Maximum level has increased from 99 to 399, and maximum skill rating has increased from S20 to S50. So for those that are crazy F099 players, well, you've got a lot more when it comes to your ratings and your skill caps and everything. So levels 100 and above are indicated in the game as star, which equals 1. For example, star 00 for level 100 and star 00 for level 200. So it makes sense. Every star, that's a 1. So there you go. They also added one badge that can be used to customize pilot cards. After meeting the specific conditions, you'll be able to use it for customization. You can check the specific conditions and perform customizations by selecting Workshop on the main menu and selecting pilot cards. They also fixed issues to make for a more pleasant gaming experience. Gotta have those fixed issues for pleasant gaming experiences. So yeah, I think that people are thinking that this is a pleasant gaming experience with these updates, especially for those that have continued to play F099 and show Nintendo that we do want a new F-Zero game. For all the F-Zero fans, all 7 of you out there, no, I'm joking. You need 99 to play the game. So obviously there's a lot more than that, and people are having fun, and this is good. It's good to see that F-Zero's back in some capacity with some new content, at least even if it's this. This is better than nothing, and I think that this will potentially, probably, lead to a brand new game, but we're gonna have to wait and see on that, whatever Nintendo decides to do. So what are your thoughts on all this, guys? I think we had a lot of good information and news. I wanted to bring you guys something substantial when I do news. I think this was all good stuff. So what are your thoughts on all of this big Nintendo news? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and make sure you check out my other Nintendo Switch videos, like my top 25 countdowns and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.